Have you ever, just been mystified by that person in the room? The one who seems to effortlessly draw people in, build trust almost instantly, and influence decisions without ever seeming to try. They just walk away from every single interaction having built a real connection, maybe even loyalty. For most of us, that just feels like a complete mystery.
And that's the mystery we're really digging into today. Our source material is a deep analysis of Dale Carnegie's iconic work, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
The classic.
It is. I mean, we're talking about a book that's nearly 90 years old, and yet its principles, they're still so fundamentally true to human psychology. What's crucial here for you is that we are not wading into, endless theory. Our mission is to pull out the actionable stuff.
The strategies you can use right away.
Exactly.
It sets an incredible standard, doesn't it? The book basically promises 4 huge outcomes if you can master these ideas. First, just making people like you. Second, winning people over to your way of thinking, but without being manipulative. Third, changing people's behavior without them resenting you for it.
Yeah.
And finally, the big one, building actual lasting friendships.
It's a whole system. But like any good system, you have to start with the foundation. We have to look at the fundamental techniques first, the bedrock rules for handling any interaction.
Because if you get those wrong...
If you get those wrong, nothing else works. It all falls apart.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The first foundational rule, I always think of this one as the beehive rule.
The beehive rule, good analogy.
Yeah, it's this simple idea. If you want to gather honey,
you don't kick over the beehive.
You absolutely do not kick the beehive. And in human terms, that means what?
Do not criticize, condemn, or complain. Carnegie's reasoning is pretty blunt about it. Any fool can criticize, and most fools do.
Huh.
It's just futile. The second you criticize someone, they're immediately on the defensive.
And that's the real danger, isn't it? It's not just that they disagree. It attacks their self-esteem. It causes this deep resentment that can simmer for years.
Absolutely. It's a very costly short-term release of your own frustration.
So the strategy isn't just, don't say it.
No, it's more than that. It's learning to pause when you feel that criticism coming up and asking yourself, okay, wait, what could be the reasons behind this person's actions that I'm just not seeing?
Yeah.
It shifts your focus from blame to context.
Which is the perfect segue into the counterbalance to that, the thing you should do instead. And I think this is really the big secret of the whole book.
Which is...
genuine appreciation.
Yes. This is it. This taps into the deepest driver of human psychology. The core need of every single person is to feel appreciated, to feel important. And if you can fulfill that need, that's where influence comes from.
But hold on. This is where I always get a little stuck. If my goal is to influence someone, isn't praising them just, a fancy kind of manipulation? How do we know it isn't just self-serving flattery?
That is the crucial distinction. The source material really hammers this home. Flattery is exaggeration. It's insincere. It's cheap, and people can smell it a mile away.
Right.
True appreciation, on the other hand, is sincere. It comes from the heart.
Can you give us a quick example, just to draw that line clearly?
Sure. So let's say you say, your presentation was very interesting. I learned a lot, especially the data on X. That's genuine. It's specific.
It praises the work.
Exactly. But if you say, you're the best presenter I've ever seen in my life, that's just flattery. It's this huge generalization that doesn't really mean anything.
Right. Or at work, saying, I really appreciate your consistent punctuality is genuine. But saying, you're the only one who's ever on time around here.
Ooh, yeah. That's flattery mixed with a little bit of passive aggression towards everyone else. A very dangerous mix.
Yeah.
And this flows right into the third principle, arouse in the other person an eager want. Carnegie's whole thing was that the only way to influence people is to stop talking about what you want and start showing them how an action benefits them.
That is a massive mental shift. I mean, it forces you to understand what the other person wants before you even open your mouth.
Well, think about a great modern example, like Gary Vaynerchuk. When he interviews people, he spends most of the time trying to figure out the candidate's personal goals.
Not just their professional skills.
No, they're real goals. Financial freedom, creative work, whatever it is. Then he frames the job as the perfect way for them to achieve their mission.
So it's not, we need you. It's, here's how we help you get what you want.
Precisely. It's a core insight. By unselfishly helping others get their goals, you end up getting what you want because you've become their partner.
Okay, so let's pivot from that core mindset to the daily tangible stuff, the ways to make people actually enjoy being around you.
This is where the rubber meets the road, really. If avoiding criticism is about not breaking things, these steps are about actively building them. And the first one is becoming genuinely interested in other people.
This is one of my favorite quotes from the book. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you.
It's so counterintuitive, isn't it? Especially today. We spend all our time trying to seem impressive. But if that's all you do, you end up with very few real friends.
True friendship comes from giving your attention away.
It does. And the actionable tips are so simple but profound. Greet people with enthusiasm. Show some energy. And remember the little things, like their birthdays.
Because those little acts just communicate that they matter to you, that you see them.
You see them, yeah.
And speaking of seeing them as an individual, let's talk about the magic of names. This is principle 3. Why is hearing our own name so powerful?
Because, as Carnegie says, a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. It's our unique identifier. It sets us apart.
So when someone forgets it,
When you forget it or you mispronounce it, it signals a real lack of effort. It just makes the other person feel, well, insignificant.
I'll admit I struggle with names, especially in big groups. And the advice to just try harder doesn't really work. Is there a better strategy?
There is. The book says you have to develop a system. That can mean writing the name down, asking them to spell it, or creating some kind of, crazy visual story in your head to remember it. The point is to stop blaming your bad memory and start using a system.
A system, right. Now, tied closely to that is principle 4, which is just being an attentive listener.
The human ego just craves an interested ear. Everyone wants to share their stories. The big trap to avoid here is what I call waiting to talk syndrome.
Yes, I know that one. You're just waiting for them to take a breath so you can jump in with your brilliant point.
Exactly. And when you're doing that, you aren't listening. You're just rehearsing. And people can feel that. They feel disregarded. The real skill is cultivating curiosity, posing questions that they will enjoy answering.
And that kind of listening can actually defuse conflict, too. Even angry people tend to soften when they feel like they're actually being heard.
That's right. Which brings us to the culmination of all this, principle 6. Always make the other person feel important.
Okay, this sounds great, but how do you do this genuinely? If I'm dealing with, say, a difficult customer, how do I make them feel important without being patronizing?
It requires a mindset shift. You have to recognize that every single person you meet, the delivery driver, the intern, that client, has skills or knowledge that surpass your own in some area.
So it's not about making something up. It's about acknowledging what's already there.
Precisely. You never look down on them because you know you're not superior in every way.
Yeah.
And then you use small acts of kindness, polite phrases like, "I'm sorry to trouble you," or "Would you mind?" It shows you respect their time and their agency.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, let's pivot to the really hard part. Conflict and persuasion. This is where we get into winning people to your way of thinking. And the first rule is maybe the toughest. Avoid arguments.
It is tough because our instinct is to prove we're right. But Carnegie reminds us, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You might win the verbal sparring match, but you lose their goodwill.
But what about high-stakes disagreements? A budget meeting, a project deadline. I can't just walk away.
No, and the strategy isn't total avoidance. It's about distinguishing an ego battle from a necessary discussion. The advice is to welcome disagreement as a chance to learn. But if things get heated, put some time between you.
Suggest talking about it tomorrow.
Right. And before you do, ask yourself, is it really worth it if I win this? Will my reaction solve the problem or just relieve my frustration? If it's the second one, just disengage.
And if you do have to engage, that takes us to principle 2. Never say you're wrong.
You have to remember, we're creatures of emotion, pride, and vanity. We are not creatures of pure logic. When you directly tell someone they are wrong, it's a direct hit to their ego. And once the ego is bruised, logic is gone.
So even if I know they are factually 100% incorrect.
You need language that softens it, that shifts the focus away from them being wrong and onto the facts themselves.
Like what?
Phrases like, I could be mistaken here. It happens a lot. Let's just review the facts together. It immediately signals collaboration, not a fight.
That's a great tactic. Another one's principle 5, the yes, yes momentum.
This is pure Socrates. The goal is to get the other person's body and mind into a mode of acceptance. You start by finding common ground. You avoid starting with the differences.
So you ask a series of simple questions you know they'll agree with. Can we agree that the goal is X? Do we both value why?
Exactly. You get that yes momentum going. It makes it so much easier to have an open conversation when you finally get to the point of disagreement.
And finally, on persuasion, it all seems to rest on principle 8, seeing the other angle.
The secret of success, really. The ability to genuinely get the other person's point of view and see it from their angle. When you ask for something, you have to frame it in terms of their benefit.
Right, the example of asking your college kid to do chores. You don't lead with, you have to do this.
No, you acknowledge their situation first. Son, I know you've had a long day. Then you connect the chore to their desire. But if you help me with the dishes, that will give us both more time to watch that movie you wanted to see.
You turned a chore into a path to what they want.
Precisely. Or with someone afraid of public speaking. You don't say, just do it. You say, I know how intimidating this is. How about we start small? Let's just try to answer one question in the next class. Sound fair? You're solving their problem, not giving an order.
All right, let's go to the final and maybe hardest part, leadership. How do we change someone's behavior without creating resentment? Principle 2 here is about highlighting mistakes indirectly by replacing one tiny word.
Replacing but with and. That little word but is like a verbal eraser. It just cancels out any praise that came before it.
Let's hear that in action, the bad way first. We're very proud of you, Brad, but if you worked harder.
Ugh. You just hear the but. You only focus on the failure. Now try this. We're very proud of you, Brad, and if you continue trying your best, your grades will get up to where they should be.
It's totally different. The praise stays, and the critique is framed as like a forward-looking encouragement.
Exactly.
And then there's principle 3, admit your own mistakes first. I remember trying to criticize a teammate once, and it went nowhere because I acted like I'd never made a mistake myself.
That's a perfect example. Sharing your own struggles first just removes that feeling of superiority. It creates a cooperative atmosphere.
Right, makes the advice feel collaborative. Something like, believe me, when I was your age, I really struggled with deadlines. Here's something that helped me, and it might work for you too.
You're on their side fighting the problem together. Then there's principle 7, give a good reputation to live up to.
This one taps into identity, right? People want to live up to the positive labels you give them.
Yes. So if you need a project done well and on time, you lead with, I've always admired your attention to detail and how you hit your deadlines. This project could really use those strengths.
You've given them a reputation, detail-oriented and timely, and now they have to protect it.
They'll work hard to protect that identity.
And finally, let's wrap with a principle that's just pure leadership. Throw down a challenge.
This is all about recognizing that the desire to excel, the spirit of competition, that's often way more motivating than money. The historical example of Charles Schwab is perfect here. He had an unproductive factory chef.
He didn't yell at them, though. He just asked how many products they made that day. The answer was 6. So Schwab took some chalk and just wrote a big 6 on Voller and left.
And the night shift came in, saw the 6, saw it as a challenge, and by the time they left, they'd erased it and written a 7.
And the next morning, the day shift saw the 7 and changed it to a 10. He just started a game, a competition.
And productivity soared, all by appealing to that desire to win, to surpass a mark.
So this deep dive, it's covered a huge amount of ground from this classic guide, from the basic rules of appreciation over anger to building connections, persuasion, and leadership.
And the thread that connects all of it, whether you're dealing with an employee or a new friend, is always recognizing and fulfilling that fundamental human need for importance and understanding. Every single technique, it just feeds that central engine.
So what does this all mean for you? We've seen how you can motivate people with appreciation and with a challenge. So think about this. If you take the idea of give a good reputation to live up to, and you combine it with throw down a challenge, how could you use those two together? How could you inspire someone not just to meet a target, but to completely shatter it? What kind of challenge would you create for your team or even for yourself based on those insights? Something to think about.